6 hours early to catch a glimpse at what would end up being one of the biggest disappointments of my fanboy life. Welcome to this wisecrack edition on The Matrix Reloaded. What went wrong? And in case you've been living under a rock, spoilers ahead. Part of the reason why the original Matrix worked so well was that it coupled deep philosophical themes with a tight structure, influenced heavily by Joseph Campbell's idea of the monomyth. In The Hero with 1,000 Faces, Campbell explains that a hero's journey can be broken down into 3 phases: separation from the world, a penetration to some source of power, and a life-enhancing return. This is a classic structure, one that's been used time and time again. Slavoj Žižek, Dan Harmon, writer of wisecrack favorite Rick and Morty, says that this model is hardwired into our nervous system, and trusts that in a vacuum or raised by wolves, our stories would follow this pattern. But where does the story go once this cycle is complete? Once the protagonist has become, in Campbell's words, master of 2 worlds, and in Neo's case, frickin' Superman. This is the problem the Wachowskis faced in writing The Matrix Reloaded, and it's a pretty difficult problem. Once your characters become all-powerful, how do you craft a meaningful story arc with believable internal and external conflict? To their credit, the Wachowskis' solution is pretty smart, at least in theory. While they can't change the fact that Neo is essentially invincible, they can ask, but what if his godlike powers are, as someone in a much better sequel once said,
"It's all part of the plan."
And this forms the central plot of The Matrix Reloaded. Over the course of the film, Neo and the audience slowly realize that the prophecy is just another form of control.
The one was never meant to end anything. It was all another system of control.
All of Neo's powers aren't evidence of him transcending the system. His ability to do these things are just another part of the system. In other words, Neo isn't breaking free from the Matrix in any meaningful way, but rather playing a predetermined role in a larger system. Which brings us to the central problem of the film: action. Now, when we say action, we don't mean over-the-top fight sequences, which there are plenty of. Instead, what we're talking about here is dramatic action, or any choice that a character makes to advance their goal in the overall plot of the film. These don't have to be big, weighty choices. They can be as small as Luke deciding to follow R2-D2 on his mission to find Obi-Wan. And when it comes down to it, there just isn't much dramatic action in The Matrix Reloaded. Add in the fact that all of Neo's choices are just an illusion created by a larger system of control, and you start to realize that there's actually no dramatic action here. Zero. Zip. None. Instead, we're bogged down by lengthy, philosophically confused monologues about determinism. Determinism loosely believes that through cause and effect, every moment in the future is dictated by a moment in the past. Think of it like watching dominoes fall. If you know which domino falls first, you can be certain which one falls next, and on and on and on until the end. The Matrix Reloaded takes this philosophy and runs with it. The opening scene is actually from the film's closing moments, hammering home that the events of the past have already cemented the film's ending. In the scene, Neo dreams of Trinity kicking ass with a bike helmet before being shot. Factor in that the Matrix has restarted 6 times already, and you begin to realize that the film's ending isn't just predetermined, but that the whole world has been literally stuck in a loop. The punch clock in the guard's office strikes midnight, showing the literal completion of a circle and a seamless transition from one day's end to another's beginning.
See you tomorrow.
And the Keymaker, while explaining his plan to infiltrate the tower, says that they have
exactly 314 seconds
for Neo to reach the Architect, a conspicuously exact amount of time, which happens to be the first 3 digits of pi. Side note, pi also shows up in other places too, like being spray painted on the wall outside the Oracle's apartment. These images are constant reminders that Neo isn't blazing a new path, but rather retreading a circle for the 6th time. Neo awakes from this dream, worried as only Keanu Reeves can possibly emote. Importantly, there are no choices made in this opening, except for Neo choosing to admit,
I wish I knew what I'm supposed to do.
Where is our first point of dramatic action, you ask? The first moment when a character makes a decision to advance his or her goals and the plot? Well, that's a long way off. In fact, it's another 39 minutes off. Almost the whole first hour of the film involves Morpheus and crew playing politics while they seek the Oracle.
Where are you?
This gives us such memorable moments as pilgrims asking Neo to bless their objects like Jesus, future tribal rave scene 2.0, and a prolonged conversation between Neo and Counselor Hammond that makes sure the audience knows that the movie is going to question Neo's agency.
It does make one wonder just What is control?
So when does the dramatic action actually start here? It's not until Neo finally locates the Oracle 44 minutes into the movie that the protagonist is given their quest and starts their journey. Compare this to Star Wars, where Luke receives Leia's message at about the 20-minute mark. And when this moment finally comes, in typical Matrix Reloaded style, the film decides to beat the living crap out of us with its weighty, deterministic philosophy first.
Because you didn't come here to make the choice. You've already made it.
Neo wonders what he should do, but the Oracle reminds Neo and the viewers that it doesn't matter. Neo's already made his choice.
Are you saying I have to choose whether Trinity lives or dies?
No. You've already made the choice. Now you have to understand it.
That's right. In case we were hoping that Neo would make a choice here, we were wrong. So to recap, the inciting incident is just a bunch of philosophical exposition that reminds us that Neo has no agency at all. Fun. Real fun. But what about Neo's quest?
You can save Zion if you reach the source, but to do that you will need the Keymaker.
The Keymaker?
He's being held prisoner by a very dangerous program. One of the oldest of us. He is called the Merovingian.
Yup, Neo's journey is literally a glorified fetch quest. You know, those obnoxious gathering quests that have been ruining RPGs for 30 years now. But at least in those quests, we know why we're starting them. All Neo's left with is vague instructions. But don't worry, the Wachowskis, sensing their audience might be getting annoyed now, decide to add in an action scene with Agent Smith. And surprise, surprise, before attacking Neo, Smith delivers a monologue on, you guessed it, determinism.
We're not here because we're free. We're here because we're not free. There's no escaping reason, no denying purpose, because as we both know, without purpose, we would not exist.
Yup, while Neo might think he's free, Smith is trying to tell him that he's only bound by a larger system of cause and effect, just like Counselor Hammond and the Oracle teased earlier. Instead of having this deterministic theme grow organically through Neo's actions, The Matrix Reloaded decides to just tell us, straight up, over and over again. Then we have another action sequence that demonstrates Neo's godlike power, a scene that doesn't advance the plot at all. Adding insult to injury, this fight scene goes on for well over 6 minutes and looks like it was directly ripped from a Dynasty Warriors game. An hour into the film, and finally the plot begins to move. Neo and the crew meet with the Merovingian to haggle over the Keymaker. The Merovingian is a reference to the Merovingian Order, which supposedly guarded a book detailing the location of the Holy Grail. Keeping with the film's Christian symbolism, the Keymaker is the book here, while the source is the Grail. But this wouldn't be The Matrix Reloaded without another unnecessary speech on determinism.
The only real truth, causality. Action, reaction, cause and effect.
Everything begins with choice.
No, wrong. Choice is an illusion.
To prove his point, in what might go down as the most ridiculous scene in an already ridiculous movie, our French friend here decides to send a girl a piece of cake designed to make her orgasm. Yeah, that just happened. This is now the 4th ramble sesh teasing to Neo that he's just a puppet on strings. But the Merovingian decides to withhold the Keymaker.
The Keymaker is mine, and I see no reason why I should give him up.
Luckily for Neo and company, and unluckily for the audience, the group doesn't have to think of a clever solution to retrieve the Keymaker, which is, you know, what protagonists usually do when faced with an obstacle. Instead, the Merovingian's lady friend Persephone offers him up in exchange for a kiss with Neo.
I'll give you what you want, but you have to give me something.
What?
A kiss.
And if you think that's male fantasy for you, know that the script actually described her as sex and death squeezed into a woman's business suit made of latex. Yeah. Then begins the movie's largest action sequence, taking up 22 minutes, or the length of an entire television show. And this scene doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you think about it. If Neo is just playing into the hands of the architect like all his other past incarnations, why is it necessary that the agents chase the Keymaker?
The exile is the primary target.
After all, if they delete him, then Neo can't reach the source and reintegrate his code, which means that the Matrix is super screwed because Agent Smith is going rogue and there's nothing to stop him. So both of the film's biggest action set pieces serve no purpose in the narrative. Factor in how much time has been wasted talking about determinism, and you realize this film can't have spent more than 20 minutes advancing the plot. But there's not much time to think about this, because the film moves into its third plot point well past the 90-minute mark: the journey to the source. This is supposed to be the climax of the film, but it really doesn't feel like it. For starters, we already know what happens when the group infiltrates the tower. Despite Neo telling Trinity to
Stay out of the Matrix.
we know that she'll go in anyway and get herself shot as a result. Meanwhile, once Neo reaches the source, he doesn't come up against some insurmountable foe who forces him to become one with himself and the universe. Partially because this already happened in the first film. Nope, we're given typical Matrix Reloaded fare again. Instead of fulfilling dramatic action, we get more exposition. A big ol' information dump.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix.
The architect explains the role of the prophecy, and how Neo must eventually surrender his code to the Matrix mainframe like his 5 predecessors have done before him, thus saving Zion from complete destruction. If there's any hope for Neo making a choice here, rest assured, the film is hell-bent on taking away his agency.
Your 5 predecessors were, by design, based on a similar predication, a contingent affirmation that was meant to create a profound attachment to the rest of your species, facilitating the function of the One. While the others experienced this in a very general way, your experience is far more specific, vis-a-vis love.
The architect even says that Neo was specifically designed to feel love more than his predecessors. And just to make sure the film really hammers the point home, when Neo is presented with the choice of either saving Zion or going to rescue Trinity, the architect reminds us,
We already know what you are going to do, don't we?
after 5 monologues on determinism and cause and effect, I think yes, we do. Neo flies off to save Trinity, removing a bullet from her abdomen, surprising no one. After 2 hours and 18 minutes, the audience is left wondering what the hell they just watched.
I can't take this.
Sure, a lot more happened on screen than in the original. There were more fight scenes, more characters, more plot twists, so why does it feel like nothing actually happened? The answer here lies in our own natural sense of dramatic action. There are only 4 main plot points here. Neo finds the Oracle, Neo finds the Keymaker, Neo reaches the Source, and Neo saves Trinity. That's it. These moments are then diluted by unnecessary sermons on determinism. Sermons which, if you can actually follow them, just remind you that Neo has no agency. If all of Neo's choices are predetermined, how is anybody supposed to root for him, let alone care what happens? It seems like the entire point of this 2-hour, 18-minute movie is to get the audience to ask themselves, can Neo actually make choices? Can he break free from the system of control, the very same one we thought he already broke free from in the first movie? Instead of answering this, The Matrix Reloaded tells us to watch the 2-hour-long Matrix Revolutions to find out. Great. Just great. Thanks for watching, Wisecrack. If you're like us, you're always searching for ways to work smarter, not harder. Well, we just discovered an awesome YouTuber named Thomas Frank, aka College Info Geek, and his channel is loaded with tips and advice for being more productive, whether at school or in your day-to-day life. You might want to check out his video on how to cut down your study time using what's called the Feynman technique. Or for those of you who aren't in school anymore, watch his episodes on bettering your sleep schedule, waking up motivated, and ending your procrastination. Check out Thomas Frank using the link in the description, and be sure to subscribe to his channel while you're over there. And if you like all the stuff we make and want to help us do more, maybe consider becoming a patron. We now have a growing library of patron-only content, including a new podcast I recorded yesterday on Wonder Woman. We're working on more Patreon exclusives each month, like early access to upcoming videos, quick takes, and more. So check out our Patreon page by clicking here, and don't forget to check out College Info Geek with these links here. Until next time, Wisecrack, peace.